Hey, it's Karin. Welcome to this episode of A Touch of Genius, your place to get curious about your personal ingenuity and develop your potential. Together, we're going to discover how to break down and break through limitations so we can shine brighter. We'll find out how this helps us create a better life experience wherever we are and explore its far-reaching implications. We'll also be learning more about how someone else's touch of genius impacts us. Get your notebook and cookies ready, and let's dive into this episode. Hello, genius. How are you? For the last several days, I've had the pleasure of watching a rabbit hang out in the garden. It's cute, even though it's shedding its fur everywhere. But I love watching it hop around, nibble at stuff, and then disappear into its magic little hole in the hedge. I wonder, does it escape to a parallel universe, or simply into the neighbor's garden? What do rabbits think of anyway? Do they have existential questions about life like we do? Speaking of existential questions, do you ever wonder why you're here? Why you're alive in this specific time of the present and future history? We often think about this when we're in the middle of a career change, when we've hit rock bottom, we're experiencing a health crisis, or when we're stressed out and feeling small. And there are plenty of things these days that can make us feel small and insignificant, if we let ourselves think that way. But this podcast is not about thinking small. It's about thinking into a new reality that helps us all grow in healthy ways and make life better, with each one of us contributing to it with our personal ingenuity. So, what if we asked ourselves why we're here from a place of pure, positive curiosity? Why are we here? And what does us being here actually do for the rest of humanity? What does what you do with your one precious life here help the rest of us with? I'm not asking you to think of grandiose things, though you can if you want to. I'm asking you to think of your daily contributions to the betterment of society, however large your circle of influence is. When we think above core survival needs, we step into curiosity, boldness, confidence, and creative thinking, ingredients for our personal ingenuity to flourish. But we don't always feel this way, and it's normal. I co-hosted a workshop a few years ago for students looking to enter the workplace. There were adults there too who were looking to refresh their skills and re-enter the workplace after some time away. My aim was to help them focus their vision and their dreams. Before I was even 5 minutes into my talk, a young man at the back of the room interrupted me with the following question. What's the point of having dreams if we have bills to pay and we have no job? It was a valid question, and I told him so. I then said that I would answer the question after I'd finished giving my talk. This was a way to ensure that he didn't take me off my course and distract everyone else from what I was about to deliver. He definitely asked his question with the sort of tone that would only lead to commiserations and complaints about the state of the world, and I wasn't going to let his grey cloud affect the rest of the group in this way. May this example serve you as a reminder that not all questions have to be answered in the moment that someone else wants the answer, especially if they'll distract you from what you're trying to do or express. With a little bit of grace and education, we can defer some conversations for a better moment. Let's get back to the essence of what was being taught that day, though, because I'm sure a lot of people can relate to it today, even if they have a job, because things seem a lot tighter than they did just a handful of years ago, don't they? My mission was to help this group of people focus on the things that would make them get out of bed in the mornings with inspiration instead of dread. A dream is really just a nice word for vision, goal, achievement, aspiration. The idea of dreams has taken a hit over the years. It's been cast aside by many adults as childish, irrelevant for adult responsibilities, and perhaps even annoying. With all the struggles that many people across the world are facing these days, it can even seem stupid. Pointless. Why bother? Don't expect much from life because it's hard as it is to get by anyway. End of story. Not quite. Whatever happened to those adults for them to stop believing in their own dreams and in their own possibilities to such a degree that many of them don't even encourage their own kids to have dreams and fulfill them? Is it any wonder why there are so many jaded people out there, kids included? The simple answer is, they stopped dreaming. And quite possibly, they also stopped feeling like they mattered. These are two crucial aspects to our personal development and sense of fulfillment in life. It's something I discovered in my travels around the world and which helped me fine-tune the purpose and mission of my cartoon character Nicky Owl. In fact, the material I was using in my talk with this group was taken from my book Color Your Life with Nicky Owl, a creativity book to help your dreams take flight and follow your north. This book was originally designed to help adults rescue their imagination, recover forgotten dreams, get in touch with their inner child, and feel more fulfilled. In recent years, and with its translation into Spanish, I've started to use it with kids so that they can focus on dreams they already have, and hopefully spare themselves from becoming jaded, lost adults. There's nothing more beautiful than to see the childlike glimmer return to an adult's eyes when something stirs inside of them, waking them up to the idea that they can achieve something, that they are more than just a selection of tick boxes that they have to fill in to conform to society's idea of what we're supposed to do with our lives. Some adults will say they have tried to make certain dreams come true, but then gave up for some reason. A lot of times it has to do with money and turning a dream concept into some sort of sustainable business venture. It's true that not everything works out as we'd like it to, and hopefully it won't ruin us. Sometimes, though, things actually work out even better. Either way, by giving ourselves a chance to do it, we can gain a lot more wisdom and experience that we can apply to other things. This goes for relationships as well. Why not aspire to experiencing your dream relationship, as long as you're willing to do what it actually takes to maintain that beautiful relationship once you have it? Whatever you've done so far, or whatever is in your pipeline, have you found yourself pushing away the idea of dreams? If so, why? I'd love to hear from you. The workshop ended with a handout for all the participants to start mapping out their vision. For some, the short-term dream was to land a job after they completed their training. For others, it went beyond, and it was nice to see how some of them were able to think this way. You see, if we don't think beyond our day-to-day, we risk living mediocre lives, which can create a lot of stress because we inherently sense that we are made for more. Dreams are an important factor in our personal evolution as human beings. They're tied to our imagination and our sense of fulfillment. The human spirit, however you relate to its creation, is designed to experience life at a higher level. And when I mean a higher level, I mean spiritual evolution, consciousness, purpose. I don't necessarily mean a higher financial level, because how many examples do we have of people in leadership positions who are really not spiritually evolved or truly self-actualized? And vice versa. Highly spiritual people working low-paid jobs who somehow deeply impact the lives of people around them. Money is not the key driver of our human development, even though it can give us material stability and a certain level of access to information and resources. Just ask Siddhartha Gautama, also known as Buddha. He was born to royal parents and renounced all luxuries to live an aesthetic life in pursuit of spiritual awakening. And how much have we learned from that one person? To get you started on the path of dream catching, you can download an excerpt from my Color Your Life with Nikki Owl book, link in the show notes. Now, let's get a clearer picture of what our personal and combined evolution is all about. This will help you understand better why your dreams matter. Abraham Maslow was an American psychologist who created Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a motivational theory of psychological health based on fulfilling innate human needs in priority. According to Maslow, human needs were arranged in a hierarchy, with 5 core levels of the hierarchy from the bottom up being physiological, safety, love or belonging, esteem, and self-actualization or transcendence. It's often depicted as levels within a pyramid. However, Maslow himself never created a pyramid to represent the hierarchy of needs, so I'd be curious to know who turned it into such an image. I imagine someone did this because the majority of people don't actually get to the higher level of self-actualization, so it's almost like a mirror of society. Think about it like people who climb a mountain, which is the same sort of shape as a pyramid. There are a lot more people standing at the bottom of it or halfway up than people getting to the peak. You, however, get to choose your personal evolution and dedicate yourself to scaling your own mountain. I do wish kids were taught this stuff at school once they know how to read and write. I think it would help them understand a lot more about society and human evolution and help motivate themselves into a higher consciousness, because that is where the sweet spot is for humanity to truly evolve. Dreams are the things that propel us beyond the mere basics of life, whether it's core survival or financial stability. That said, it doesn't mean that someone who is at a basic survival level regarding food and water doesn't already have dreams of a bigger life, and is using those dreams to get them out of bed in the mornings to find food and water. Dreams are whatever they mean to you, and they are precious to you because of it, no matter what scale or effort is required for them to happen. This is why it's important to respect one another's dreams, even if we don't understand or relate to them. A dream can be something as simple as visiting a beach when you've lived inland your whole life. Or it can be bigger and more expansive, affecting many more people than just yourself. Yet, even your dream of seeing the water can inspire more people and wake them up to their own dreams? My answer to that young man's question at the end of the workshop was simple. Dreams are the reason why we do something beyond just paying the bills and surviving life. I don't know what he's doing with his life now, although I do hope he's happy and he's moving up his own hierarchy of needs. It can be really tough to be looking at life when you're at the bottom. But you know what? That's actually when you have a whole scope of possibilities open to you. That's when you get to look at the mountain and ask yourself, how far up can I go? And what will I discover along the way? Without dreams, we lose hope. We lose desire. We lose interest in ourselves and in others. It can actually make us sick. A life without dreams is a sad one, and we need to heal a lot of sadness in this world. The best way we can do that is by living into our own dreams, because once somebody is activated in this way, it creates a knock-on effect on other people. They will either resist or open up. However, isn't it nicer to open up to your own potential than to be shut off from it? Won't it be nicer to wake up to a world where people are actively living a more fulfilled life instead of experiencing strife? One person who was prolific in his own potential and inspired many people around the world because he saw their struggles and spoke to them through his writing is our genius of the day, Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo was born in 1802 and died in 1885. He was a poet, novelist, and dramatist who was the most important of the French Romantic writers. Though regarded in France as one of its greatest poets, he is better known internationally for novels such as Notre-Dame de Paris and Les Misérables. He also served in politics as both deputy and senator. His work touched on a lot of the political and social issues and artistic trends of the time. Victor Hugo was the third son of Joseph Leopold Hugo, a general in Napoleon's army. His father constantly traveled with the imperial army, so he and his brothers were continually uprooted from Paris to Elba to Naples to Madrid, yet they always returned to Paris with his mother. When the empire fell, this gave Hugo a time of uninterrupted study, after which he graduated from the Faculty of Law at Paris. He was apparently purposeless and irregular in his academic studies. We can probably see here the beginnings of how, for him, like many other creators and free thinkers, these studies didn't really fuel his creative pursuits. From the age of 14, he was already filling notebooks with verses, and he soon began to publish novels and poems and write plays. Hugo's enormous output is unique in French literature. It's said that each morning he wrote 100 lines of verse or 20 pages of prose. He was described as the most powerful mind of the Romantic movement in 1830. By 1845, he was a laureate and peer of France, although he went on to become a sort of outlawed sage who shared his insights and prophetic visions through his writing. The defense of freedom and his move toward liberalism was strengthened by restrictions on the liberty of press at the time. Hugo was a poet of the common man, and he knew how to write with powerful simplicity about common joys and sorrows, which is why he was so relatable. Hugo wanted to be what he called the sonorous echo of his time. He restated the problems of his century and the great and eternal human questions, and he spoke with a warm-hearted eloquence that moved people's souls. For example, whilst Les Misérables is basically a detective story, by virtue of its characters and its recreation of the Parisian underworld, we discover that the main theme centers around humankind's incessant combat with evil, something I think we can all relate to, right? Like many creators, Hugo's creativity and influence didn't just stop with his writing. Hugo also produced more than 4,000 drawings, of which about 3,000 still exist. Drawing became more important to him when he decided to stop writing and devote himself to politics. Drawing then became his exclusive creative outlet between 1848 and 1851, during his exile. Well over 1,000 musical compositions have been inspired by Hugo's works from the 19th century onward. More than 100 operas are based on Hugo's works, among them Verdi's Rigoletto and Ponchielli's La Gioconda. Hugo's religious views changed radically over the course of his life. In his youth and under the influence of his mother, he identified as Catholic, which he later rejected. He frequented Spiritism during his political exile on the island of Jersey in the English Channel, where he participated in many seances conducted by French author Madame Delphine de Girardin. On the subject of Spiritism, I recently discovered a book called Conversations with Eternity at a second-hand bookstore in Sevilla. The book, published by John Chambers, is based on a series of notes written by Victor Hugo that document these seances between 1853 and 1855. These seances dealt with themes of spirituality. Until I discovered this book, I hadn't known about this facet of Victor Hugo's. It turned out during their seances they had conversations with some A-list spiritual guests including Shakespeare, Plato, Galileo, and Jesus. The book also explores Hugo's contacts with aliens from the planets Mercury and Jupiter, and the revelation that our entire universe is a quantum hologram. It's a fascinating read if you can get a copy of it. And remember, we're talking about the 1850s here. Gives you a lot to think about, doesn't it? During this exile of nearly 20 years, Hugo produced the most extensive and most original part of all his writings. I do wonder how much of these were influenced by what he discovered during those seances and his own spiritual evolution as he scaled his own personal mountain. Victor Hugo is one of our best examples of someone who channeled their emotions, spirituality, and views on humanity through writing. If he hadn't had his own dream of becoming a great writer and contributor to society by pursuing his own curiosity, we wouldn't have the body of work he created or its impact, which has lasted far longer. If we look deeper into Hugo's work, we'll see how he passionately embodied his own quote: "Each man should frame life so that at some future hour, fact and his dreaming meet." Sit with those words for a moment. What if you were to frame your life so that at some future hour, fact and your dreaming meet? We all know by now that dreams don't just happen out of nothing. They require clarity, inspiration, some sort of planning, and conscious movement in their direction. It's true that sometimes we'll encounter dreams we never imagined happening, like some fascinating trip to some unexpected location. Yet, somewhere deep within our hearts, they are actually the creation of something we desired but hadn't quite specified in our minds. Those are the wild dreams that often surprise us. Those are the synergistic happenings that we least expect. But still, they didn't come from nothing. They came from you and your disposition to open up to receiving them, to meeting them, to having ideas and exploring possibilities, to creating a set of circumstances by which facts can meet those dreams. Dreams happen when we care about our joy, when we feel engaged with something bigger than our daily grind, when we really care about fully experiencing our precious life here. We just need to look up and around more instead of living in a default virtual reality of sorts. We also need to look within so that we can extract those hidden gems from inside our hearts. Dream catching is a blend of mental, emotional, energetic, and physical components. Each one of these components needs to be studied and fine-tuned in order to make the whole thing work. We'll be dissecting those components in other episodes. None of what you see around you would have happened if somebody hadn't followed a dream or an idea. No invention, no beautifully designed building or functional device would have been created. No intellectual movements that have created rich cultures. No incredible relationships. Nothing. Not even your favorite coffee mug. We're nothing without dreams. And dreams don't happen if we don't feel that we matter. Because dreams need us to make them happen. It's a symbiotic relationship of creation. That's why it's so important to feel that we matter. Without this, why get out of bed in the mornings? We typically feel that we matter when someone is seeking our help or someone offers us their help. We feel that we matter when we receive love and our love is received by another. We feel that we matter when we're hired for a job or can give somebody work. We feel appreciated, wanted, loved, purposeful, helpful. Over the years and with evolving systems and structures, we've been losing that sense of feeling like we matter. Just line up for any queue in any sort of administrative work and you'll often feel like a number, not a person. I think this has become more prevalent in the last few years. With the concerns of AI and more automated systems and a certain dehumanization process, it's natural to fear that this will only get worse. Yet we need to make sure that we're not making one another feel this way, no matter how much technological pressure may be mounting up around us to somehow delete our sense of humanity. We make the human ecosystem. The fabricated system does not make us. Yet it would appear this is what many people have become. Please do not delete yourself or other people, no matter how dark it gets. You may not always feel the sun shine within you, but it always comes back, just like nights become days again. You can count on that. Nature is a beautiful teacher and reminder of how things that often seem dead or lost can be rebirthed or recovered. This is why we have the seasons and why it's important to respect our connection with nature. You can also count on an increasing number of people who feel the same way about this trend and are actively making sure that they don't let themselves be dehumanized. Before you get overwhelmed, though, it's much easier than you think. It can start with simply looking people in the eye more often, even if it's strangers passing by on the street. We do this in Spain a lot. It's one of the things I miss the most from my time overseas, greeting strangers on the street and not being looked at like doing so was a threat or something crazy. To rehumanize our world, we need to pay attention to these little details. They're the ones that help us feel like we matter. Looking people in the eyes is one of the most simple ways to acknowledge one another. A simple acknowledgement of another human being creates a sensation between both people that they have been known to exist, that for a split second at least, someone honored that they matter and someone honored that you matter. This is a beautiful thing, yet it's such an easy one to let fall through the cracks. So let's fill up the cracks. Here's an idea that I'd love for you to take on as a personal challenge. Wherever you are, however many people you may cross paths with on a daily basis, just try smiling at them and saying hello, even if it's from your car stopped at a traffic light. Just create a simple wave of kindness throughout your day. Then see how it makes you feel and how people respond. Smiling at one another is free and still legal as far as I know. I hope it stays that way because, there's some really weird stuff going on these days. Never take anyone's negative reactions personally, though, because you have no idea what they're going through. A lot of people are currently conditioned to expect negativity and aggression. A lot of people are hurting for many reasons, and the only way they know how to let it go right now is to dish it out onto somebody else. It's obviously not the best way, but that's what they know for now. Simply trust that your act of kindness is actually making a positive difference in the people around you, whether you see it in that moment or not. Most of all, the impact will be deepest in yourself. Did you know it takes far less muscles in the face to smile than it does to frown? Try this every day for at least a week. Write down how you feel, what you observe in others, and anything else that comes up for you. If it feels uncomfortable at first, because maybe you're not used to it, ask yourself where that discomfort comes from. Yes, it could be a cultural thing, but remember that kindness is universal, and everyone feels better being smiled at than being scowled at or ignored. We'll call this the smile calculator, and you can even turn it into a game. Write down how many people you smiled at every day. How many of them smiled back? What other reactions did you notice? What does this show you about other people and yourself? Does going to work feel easier doing this? Did it strike up any interesting conversations? Does it make you feel like your presence matters? A little bit goes a long way to helping yourself and the people around you feel like you matter. Whenever you plant a seed of kindness, know that it will grow somehow, and it will definitely come back to you with interest. Just don't keep tabs on it. This is a free-flowing act of generosity. What's also free is the downloadable PDF of this smile calculator to help you keep track. Link in the show notes and on the podcast episode on my website, karinpinter.com/podcast. Again, we don't have to be doing incredibly public and grand things in order to affect positive change in our world. The true work is in the details. It's in your personal spark lighting up other people's lives throughout your day. That's what gets people shifting their own thoughts and energy. I hope you carry this idea and the importance of your dreams far beyond today. When others are desperately seeking to destroy what we have left of our capacity to dream and create a beautiful world, be the kind of person who chooses to be kind, loving, and joyful. In other episodes, we'll talk about how you can transmute any negative emotions in healthy ways. And remember, you matter simply because you exist. There's nobody else like you. Nobody capable of loving like you, of laughing like you, of imagining like you, of contributing like you do. Thank you for existing. Thank you for dreaming a better world into reality for all of us. You are wonderful. As we wrap up today's show, I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. It means a lot to me. You see, whenever we create something, we always take a leap of faith into the unknown, and we don't always know how it'll work out. That's part of what this podcast is about, encouraging all of us to take leaps of faith on our ideas, dreams, and creations, and having a safe space to explore them, to build the strength to get back up when we fall, and to celebrate when we fly high. I'd love to know what your big takeaway is from this episode. Tell me what you're working through and what you'd like to know more about. Also, is there someone you'd like me to interview on the topic of genius? Let me know. Email me at hello@karinpinter.com or message me on my socials. In the meantime, take care of your genius self.